Hey there folks, Lane here with Techno Maverick, and today we're going to be talking about my impressions of the brand new Surface Pro 4, the new type cover, and the Surface Book after spending about 45 minutes with these devices. So first things first, I think that these are fantastic devices, and Microsoft has again done a great job with designing these devices so that few compromises are made. However, unfortunately, there were some problems that I noticed with these new devices, particularly the Surface Book, which is kind of to be expected since it is a first generation device from Microsoft. Now, of course, this is the first time that Microsoft has ever built a laptop, so you have to kind of expect that there are going to be some things that they missed. Maybe they're making some changes to the laptop that consumers don't really want. So Microsoft believes that people are going to adapt to some of these, you could call them issues, or basically some of the differences between the Surface Book and a normal laptop. We'll have to wait and see if that's true, but overall I noticed a couple of problems with the design. So first of all, the fulcrum hinge that Microsoft has on this device. Microsoft has basically made this specifically so that they can have the keyboard detached from the display easily using a brand new technology, which is great. But then they also wanted the hinge to be able to elongate when the lid is opened. And the idea there is that that's going to make the base more stable, since the base will be longer, or yes, deeper, I guess, than the display is tall. And that will potentially keep the device from falling backwards. So whether this is really a problem with normal laptops, I don't really think it is. The reason maybe Microsoft thinks it may be a problem is because the display and the base weigh approximately the same amount. So if the display is tilted back just a little bit, touching the screen could cause the device to kind of wobble back and forth. So elongating the base does a little bit to help that problem. And I didn't have any problems using the touch screen with the display open at all, so it seems like that design has served its purpose there. The problem is the hinge is kind of weird looking, and I think that some people just won't be able to get over that. That's okay. I personally don't mind that, and I don't think it's a big issue. Microsoft isn't targeting everyone. They are targeting a very specific audience with this device. However, there's another problem with this hinge, and that is that when the device is closed, it's a wedge shape, and there's this little gap between the display and the keyboard. Now, this could be a good thing because it will keep the display from being scratched, but others have mentioned that there is maybe a concern of some things falling in there when it's closed. So you can maybe imagine having the device closed inside of your bag, and you maybe drop some things inside of your bag. Maybe it's a backpack, so you have a lot of space, so maybe just open it up and throw things in there. You could have some things falling inside there that may be scratching the display anyway. In addition, there may be problems with structural rigidity when the display is closed if you put a lot of pressure on top of the display. Personally, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Microsoft's devices have always been very rigid, so I doubt that that's going to be causing any problems. Still, even if it doesn't cause any practical problems with there being that air gap, I think that people are just a little bit uncomfortable about that aspect of the design. Now, the next problem is that when the Surface Book is closed, there is actually a magnetic clasp that is keeping the display and the keyboard together. So as it's closed at the front end where you would normally open it, there's a magnet that's keeping it shut. And that sounds, practically speaking, like a good idea. Because of that air gap, you maybe need a little bit more to keep that closed. However, the problem that it's creating is that opening the device is actually kind of difficult. Anyone who's used a few laptops in the past will know that it's kind of frustrating when you're trying to open a laptop. When you pull it open, the base also comes open. So you pull on the lid and the base continues to, stick to the lid, and then it doesn't really open. You're just kind of moving it around. That's also a problem with the Surface Book. Because of those magnets, it seemed like a bigger problem than maybe it should be. So I couldn't really figure out a great way to do it because there's not a lot of grip on the base. So when you go to kind of open the lid, you don't have anything to grab onto to kind of hold down the base so that you can pull the lid open. So it was kind of weird. I tried basically putting my hand at the back of the device and trying to open the lid that way and then keep the device from tilting backwards. But in the few minutes I spent trying to figure out the right way to open it, I couldn't figure it out. So I think that may be a problem. It's a frustration because you are going to be opening and closing this thing a lot. So if you can't figure out a way to do that that is easy, although it's a little thing, it will be frustrating over time. Now, in terms of the muscle wire hook that keeps the display attached to the base, that is fantastic. It works exactly as advertised. The only problem that I have with it is that although there's an audible notification sort of when you detach it so that you know that you can lift the display off of the base, there isn't anything equivalent to that when you attach it. So there's no click or anything that I could hear when I was attaching the screen back to the base. So I wasn't really sure if it was attached all the way. That said, that's not really that big of a deal for me. However, some people may have a problem with it. Now, in addition, the display gets about 4 hours of battery life on its own when it's not attached to the base. Now, that's fine for me. I personally only use my Surface Pro 3 detached from the keyboard for, a very small amount of time at any given time. However, I think that tech reviewers are going to take issue with that rather. The good news is that the display on its own is extremely thin and very light. It is unbelievable how light this thing feels for the size that it is. It's just, it kind of blows you away. The base as well, all by itself, when you detach the display and kind of pick up the base, it also feels extremely light. I know the device is over 3 pounds with everything attached, everything put together, but it really doesn't feel like that at all. Now let's talk about the Surface Pen. Microsoft has done some great things with the Surface Pen with this edition. They have actually created these interchangeable pen nibs or pen tips that have different feelings, different textures to them when you're drawing on the screen. So if you prefer a little bit more friction, you have that option. If you prefer less friction, you have that option as well. Now, at the base of the pen is the eraser. Just like the first and second generation Surface Pen, now you can flip the pen around to go ahead and erase something. Now, the OneNote button is not gone. That's still there. It feels a little bit more rubbery and a little bit less clicky, but I don't find any problem with that at all. The main issue that I thought I would have was that as I'm erasing something on the screen, I'm going to use enough pressure to activate OneNote with that click. That didn't happen at all. They've kind of found a good balance between clicking and that pressing motion that you have when you're actually trying to erase something. Now, the first time that I tried the Surface Pen out, I couldn't find the right click button. I thought it was gone. And that's because it's actually hidden inside of the design of the Surface Pen. It's really very hard to see. So on one side of the Surface Pen, it's actually flat. And that is so that you can attach it magnetically to the side of the Surface display. This is true for both the Surface Book and the Surface Pro 4. But inside of that left side, or inside of that side of the pen where it's flat, at the base of that, nearest to the tip, that flat side has a button built into this flat side of the Surface Pen, and you can't really see the button. It's not a separate piece of plastic, I guess is what it is, from the rest of the device. So there's this little strip that goes along the side to kind of indicate to you where the magnet is, and then at the end of that strip is where the button is. I actually found it a lot easier to use once I knew where the button was by comparison to the buttons that are on the Surface Pro 3 pen. The other problem that I always had with the Surface Pro 3 pen was that when I was trying to find the eraser, I would often accidentally use the right click button or the select button instead. There just wasn't a lot of a good feeling or texture to kind of determine which of the two buttons you were pressing with your thumb. So I actually like this design of the Surface Pen a lot better, a lot more than I thought I would. Another thing to note with the new Surface Pen is that although it's designed to magnetically attach to the left side of the Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Book's displays, you can actually magnetically attach it to the side of the Surface 3 or the Surface Pro 3 where the power connector is. There's a strong enough magnet that it will actually sit there. It's not as strong as on the Surface Pro 4 or the Surface Book, and by the way, it's very strong. If you go to pull off the pen off of the Surface Pro 4, it's more likely that you're gonna just grab the pen and drag the Surface Pro 4 across the table. It's that strong. So I'm actually very happy with how they've done this new pen storage. All right, let's talk about keyboards. So starting with the keyboard on the Surface Book, it's a bit more spacious than the keyboard on the Surface Pro 3 on the type cover. A bit more spacious, a bit more comfortable. The only issue that I potentially would have with it is coming from the Surface Pro 3, the keyboard obviously never heats up because there are no moving parts, no batteries or anything like that. So it never heats up. On the Surface Book, right beneath the keys, right beneath the palm rest are where the batteries are. So I worry that a lot of intense or heavy usage may cause those areas to heat up. In the time that I was able to spend with the device, I wasn't able to kind of create that scenario to test it out, but I do worry that it may get a little bit hot in those areas since that's where the batteries are located. The trackpad is indiscernible from a modern MacBook Pro trackpad. I mean, it's giant, it feels really great to use. The trackpad is just phenomenal. They did a fantastic job with that and working with the engineers and in Microsoft to making sure that it works well with Windows. Microsoft has come a long way with trackpads in the last few years. Now, for those of you wondering, the Surface Pro 4 keyboards will work with the Surface Pro 3, and that's great news for a couple of different reasons. For one, you can add Windows Hello to your Surface Pro 3 by buying the new Surface Pro 4. It's hard to keep all this terminology correct. So you can use the Surface Pro 4 keyboard with the fingerprint scanner on your Surface Pro 3. Those of you who are buying Surface Pro 4s don't need to worry about the fingerprint scanner because facial recognition will be built into the device using the front-facing camera. And my understanding is that this camera will actually still be able to work to unlock the device even in the dark. Now, they've thinned out the edges of the... Let me go ahead and grab my keyboard, in fact. Hold on a second. All right, so with the Surface Pro 3 keyboard, you have these bezels on the side. I guess you can call it that. So there's this kind of empty space on the side, which means that the keyboard is not really taking up as much of the space that it could potentially use in order to make those keys larger and add some space in between the keys. With the Surface Pro 4 keyboard, they've made this area a little bit thinner and made the actual key area wider on the keyboard. So that's actually really nice. It's a great way to get a much better typing experience with your Surface Pro 3 if you're going to go ahead and use the new keyboard. Now, the other thing that they've done, obviously, is they've created some space in between each of these keys to make it a more of a chiclet style instead of this kind of flat style. So you can better feel the difference between the two keys since there's some of that space there. I didn't notice the keys feeling very small though, even with that space added. Now, in addition, somehow they were able to make the trackpad a lot larger, and the trackpad is also glass now. Now, I never thought that this material, this glass beaded plastic, was, rough on my fingers or anything, but the new one is definitely a lot smoother. Now, since it's the same material on the back of the Surface Pro 4 keyboard, if you want to go ahead and still use your pen slot thingies, what are these called? If you still want to go ahead and use your pen loops on the Surface Pro 4 type cover, you can still do that. These will still attach. So if you're worried about pen storage with your Surface Pro 3, if you're going to be using the new keyboard, that will still work for you. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Surface Pro 4 as a device. Now, they have made the screen a little bit larger without changing the overall size of the device at all. Now, that means you can continue to use it with your Surface Pro 3 dock. There is going to be a little bit of an insert that you can add just because the device is slightly thinner and won't exactly fit properly. But my understanding is Microsoft is going to be giving those away for free for those people that already use the dock. Now, as far as the Surface Pro 4 screen being larger because they decreased the bezel size, to be honest, I didn't notice at all. When I was in there in the store, I didn't bring my Surface Pro 3 to kind of compare, but the display to me didn't look any larger. I couldn't really tell the difference, and day-to-day use, I don't think you're going to notice either. So if you're going to be upgrading from the Surface Pro 3 to the Surface Pro 4, don't expect for that slightly larger screen to make much of a difference. Now, they did increase the resolution from the Surface Pro 3 to the Surface Pro 4, but again, I never thought that the Surface Pro 3 screen looked bad at all. It's fantastic. So even though the resolution has been increased, I don't think that's going to make a big of a difference, between for those users that are moving up to the Surface Pro 4 either. Now, in addition, the Surface Pro 4 is obviously a little bit thinner and a little bit lighter, but that too, I mean, it was hardly noticeable. It's coming from someone who's been using the Surface Pro 3 for about a year and a half. I just really didn't notice a difference. Now, Microsoft also says that the Surface Pro 4 is about 30% faster than the Surface Pro 3. If you ask me, that's not a big enough of a difference for me to jump ship with the Surface Pro 3 and move up to the 4. The reason being, normal day-to-day tasks are, performed, easily with the Surface Pro 3. There are some tasks like video encoding that I need to do that take quite a bit of time on the Surface Pro 3, but that extra 30% isn't going to be enough to make much of a difference to me. So if you're going to be someone who's thinking about upgrading from the Pro 3 to the Pro 4, I would highly recommend trying to get some hands-on time with the device to kind of see if it really would make much of a difference to you at all. I think that getting the new pen and the new keyboard is really all that most people need to do. However, I do think that the Surface Book is a very exciting device, and if you're looking for something quite a bit more powerful than your Surface Pro 3 and a little bit better of an experience all around, I think that that's going to be a fantastic device for different people to try. So those were my impressions of the Surface Pro 4, the brand new type cover for the Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Pro 3, and the Surface Book. Now, if I missed anything that you think I should know about, feel free to leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thanks for watching.